It's a warm welcome here in our studios in Sarakunda. This is Star TV News with me, Sarah Kamara. In the headlines tonight, government denies allegation of coup plot. Gambia confirmed 2 new COVID-19 cases as Senegal registered 99 new cases. A relief for APRC party as government suspend all sales of Jammeh assets, said assistant spokesperson. TRRC resumed yesterday to probe Jammeh's motorcade attacks and prison conditions. On the international scene, protesters march against Kenyan police brutality. Libya's GNA forces press ahead after failed truce offer by Egypt. Cuba declares COVID-19 under control. Those were the headlines, and now the news in details. The Gambia government has refuted the coup plot's allegation on Monday to dislodge Adama Barrow's presidency following a widely circulated WhatsApp audio on Sunday claiming a looming coup. The social media information named some prominent figures as people behind the coup. Among the listed names are the current Attorney General Abubakar Tambido, the chairman and the lead counsel of the TRRC Dr. Lamin Sise and SFR respectively. Opposition leader Halifa Sallah, backed by some military personnel, including the army spokesperson Lamin K. Sanyang. Omar Diop gave us the full statement from the office of the government spokesperson Ibrahim G. Sankare.
In the wake-up of malicious and subversive audio message circulating on social media warning the Gambia government of a Lobun coup plot allegedly being hatched by some private citizens, senior government and military officials, the public is hereby informed that these are outrageous and baseless allegations. In total, all these audio messages being circulated are orchestrated by dictators and agent provogators who do not in any way wish the Gambia well, contrary to what they claim in their audios. The intention is to inject fear, panic, general apprehension, and discord in public and within government circles. Therefore, no sooner had the audio hit the airwaves yesterday than the various security and intelligence services, SIS, police, military, and economic conducted joint investigation to establish their veracity across the country. The government is pleased to announce that the totality of these tapes is false. They constitute fake news circulated to destabilize our fledgling democracy, unlike the past dispensation where such wild allegations could have landed innocent citizens in unwarranted arrest and the other form of troubles. The Gambia government exercised utmost maturity in handling this potential incriminative recordings. As such, not a single officer or civilian was questioned, arrested, or interrogated, as the audios had intended the government to do so. Also, no weapons were found, nor the vehicle they claim carried the cache of weapons for the imaginary coup operation. Preliminary investigations have established that 2 Gambians, Omar F.S. Sane, aka Baitullah, and Modu Marong, are complicit in the recording and subsequently dissemination of provocative audios that have succeeded in sending fear and general apprehension among some Gambians, both home and abroad. Omar F.S. Sane, alias Baitullah, is an ex-soldier who in 2008 reportedly jumped bail after he was accused of communicating threats via WhatsApp and fled to Casamas, where he is now believed to be a resident fugitive from justice. Like Sane, his colleague Modu Marong is believed to have left the Gambia using illegal migration route and currently lives in Italy, from where he too has been involved in the prolific production of malicious and subversive audios. Accordingly, members of the public, the consular and the diplomatic corps are urged to go about their normal businesses, as there is no cause for fear or alarm over these malicious audio messages intended to undermine the government's peace and security. For Star TV, I am Omar Diop.
The Ministry of Health yesterday confirmed 2 new coronavirus cases in the Gambia, bringing the total number of confirmed cases in the country to 28 with 1 death. Speaking during the ministry daily briefing yesterday, Modu Njai, Director of Health Promotion and Education at the Ministry of Health, revealed that one of the 2 new confirmed cases was reported from North Bank region, adding that both cases were confirmed when the individuals were in quarantine for having a recent travel history from locations with ongoing community transmission after their respective neighbors reported their presence within the communities to the COVID-19 response team through the 1025 hotline.
This is the 71st National Situation Report since confirmation of the first case of the COVID-19 in the Gambia on the 17th of March, when the country reported the first COVID-19 case. Currently, there are 2 new laboratory confirmed cases of COVID-19 registered, bringing to the total of COVID-19 cases confirmed in the country to 28. One of these cases is the first confirmed one from the North Bank West region. Both were in quarantine, having a recent travel history to locations with ongoing community transmission. Their respective neighbors reported them to the COVID-19 response team to the 1025 hotline. 47 laboratory test results received. Out of that, 10 from the National Public Health Laboratory and 37 from the Medical Research Council, the Gambia. Of these, while 3 tested positive for COVID-19, 2 new and 1 is the result of a test conducted on an existing case. 44 tested negative for COVID-19, while 24 persons were newly taken into quarantine. 1 new person was discharged after testing negative upon completion of the mandatory quarantine period. The newly quarantined were intercepted from different border posts while attempting to enter the country from locations where local transmission is ongoing. The country currently has 125 persons under quarantine and 6 active cases and no probable case. Globally, since 31st December 2019 and as of 7th of June 2020, a total of 7,082,019 cases of COVID-19, which are in accordance with the applied case definition in the affected countries, have been reported. Of these deaths, 405,081 were registered and 3,456,944 recovered from the disease. Senegal recorded 4,328 confirmed cases, while 2,588 recoveries and 49 deaths. Currently, we have 125 people on quarantine. A total of 1,970 tests were conducted and 28 are positive. 565 people completed quarantine, 789 contacts traced, and 310 people completed follow-ups.
Duruja, assistant spokesperson of the APRC party, in an interview with Star TV, said the issue of the Gambia government suspending all sales of Jammeh's assets is a relief to them. The Ministry of Justice has recently announced that the Gambia government has stopped all sales of properties following the Janneh Commission's recommendation in deference to the ruling of the Court of Appeal until a final pronouncement is made on the matter. Daru Cham conducted the interview, and this is her report.
In 2019, after the Janneh Commission, a commission of inquiry established by President Barrow's government to look into the financial dealing of the former President Jammeh and his associates, the government, through the Minister of Justice Abubakar Tambadou, announced the selling of Jammeh's assets, with his party, Jammeh, never supported. Last week, Minister Tambadou announced the suspension of the selling of the assets after the Gambia Court of Appeal ruled against the government, saying the Janneh Commission wasn't an adjudicatory. Mr. Just said, what they did was wrong and the APRC party has been against it since the beginning.
It's something we expected. We were not overjoyed, but we'll say we feel relief. We've been saying it. We said it over several interviews and press conferences that what they did was illegal, and they were not mandated to do so. Even during the process of the Commission's findings, that's when they started selling some of the assets, which were definitely not according to law, because you must conclude, file a report, government look into it, draft a white paper, then it goes to the courts for them to decide. This we did. But like I said, it's just relief to us for the doubting Thomases who thought that APRC, we were just making noise.
He said it was not only the assets of the former president but also the assets of the party itself, which he believes is illegal. Therefore, they are in the state of involving legal practitioners in guiding them through the process.
Tony, he gives us the go-ahead, the powers to stand or to fight on his behalf. We'll be very happy to do so. But as of now, we're engaging legal experts, lawyers, and those who have legal backgrounds. What do they think we need to take, we need to do as a party, and him also as an individual, and all those whom you know that their names are in the books of the Janneh Commission. So that is the stage we are. We want to find out from the legal practitioners. They will guide us in what we need to do.
Regarding the allegation to the Army Public Relations Officer on the coup attempt, with the PRO debunked, saying it's an allegation by an APRC supporter, Mr. Just said they are against it, for there is a proper process when it comes to the kind of accusation.
I believe if you have such information, you don't need to take it to social media. Give it to the relevant authorities, let them make their investigations. But allegations going viral, that itself, it's a crime. People must understand that. You either prove what you are saying or you could be penalized for these allegations, especially name calling. You know, you're defaming somebody. If it's not true, it's defamation of character. Even if it is true, what evidence can you provide? That's also very essential.
The government, through the spokesperson, dismissed the allegation of the coup, which circulated in a form of an audio. Reporting for Star TV News, I am Dado Chan.
The Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission, TRRC, set up to probe into human rights abuses of the former regime, has resumed its public hearing yesterday, focusing mainly on the conditions at Gambia's prison and the attack by the motorcade of the ex-president Yahya Jammeh. Maria Madem reports.
The Commission's mandate is expected to end in the final week of November, but the Executive Secretary says it will need an extension of the mandate to be able to prepare its findings and recommendations. The decision to suspend the public hearing was premised on the government's order to ban public engagements across the country in order to curb the coronavirus. However, the Commission has announced last month that it will go ahead with the hearing on June 8, following consultations with the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. The Commission will pick up from where it stopped, with witnesses expected to testify on road attacks by Jammeh's motorcade and conditions at Gambia's prisons, the TRRC's statement indicated. The Gambia's prison condition is evidently in a bad situation, with dozens of prisoners constantly complaining about the poor hygienic environment and feedings. The Commission had earlier visited the ground to get first-hand information. Meanwhile, giving his testimony yesterday, Gambia's top correction officer Ansumana Mane has told the TRRC his predecessor was engaged in tribalism and nepotism. It was not just tribalism but nepotism, since his relatives were the people in his kingdom. His immediate deputy was the former deputy director, Modu Jaju. Mr. Mane, who made it very clear he doesn't like talking about the issue of tribalism, told the Prop on Monday. The GPS chief is the first person to testify before the TRRC after the investigation was forced to abandon its first public hearing due to the coronavirus pandemic. His testimony centered on the country's prison, as they were allegedly used by the former president to punish political opponents. According to Mane, former President Yahya Jammeh called Mile 2 prison his five-star hotel. It was no secret, it was in the media, he said. Mane has extensive knowledge as a prison officer but faced unjust treatment, which saw him shipped out to the Ministry of Interior. The Barrow government takeover found him at Interior. He added that he was not responsible for anything regarding prisons at Interior. It was applied to push him out. He said, "I was not responsible for anything regarding prisons at Interior. It was a ploy to push me out," he told the TRRC. Maria Madem, reporting for Star TV News.
And now, news beyond our borders. In Kenya's capital, Nairobi, activists have been demonstrating against police brutality. According to a watchdog, Kenyan police have been involved in the killing of 15 people since the country put a nighttime curfew in place in March to combat coronavirus. Al Jazeera Malcolm Webb reports from Nairobi, Kenya.
Down with police killing, down! Down with police killing, down!
These activists say Kenya's police need to be held to account for killings. According to a police oversight body, 15 people have been killed by officers enforcing a nighttime curfew to slow the spread of the coronavirus. Campaigners say there are more. Some of them were killed here in the Mathari slums.
We are going all the way, every ghetto to ghetto, telling them to stop killing our kids. Mothers are crying, sisters, everybody. We are all hurt by this injustice of police brutality.
In March, when the curfew was introduced, in some places it was enforced with tear gas and beatings. This is 13-year-old Yassine Moyo. He was shot dead in Mathari as he stood on his parents' balcony. One of the police officers involved was arrested and charged with murder last week. But it's rare for police to be convicted of crimes in Kenya. When a homeless man was shot dead in Mathari last week, residents blocked roads and burned tyres. They say police killed him. Police have denied it.
Viva with the social justice, viva!
But it prompted the activists to call for more police officers to face justice.
I am here to protest for our youth who have died in the hands of the police without any wrongdoing, and we are saying enough is enough. As mothers, many of our youth have been killed while being labelled as thieves.
Kenya's police was created about a century ago by British colonialists. It was used to violently put down an independence movement. The campaigners here say its officers still don't respect people's rights, as people around the world take to the streets against racism and police brutality. Kenya's activists are calling for change too. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera, Nairobi, Kenya.
Libya's UN-recognized government has vowed to take back the country's east, starting with the strategic city of Sirte. They are hoping to build on a series of victories against renegade commander Khalifa Haftar forces. Al Jazeera Malik Trainer reports from west of Sirte, Libya.
The road leading into Sirte is wide open. Remnants of destruction tell a story of conflict, old and new. Military positions abandoned by the warlord Khalifa Haftar's self-declared Libyan National Army, fleeing their advancing enemies. We meet Abdul Hamid Abu Zayan, a field commander for GNA forces. He says his brother was killed in Sirte in the fight to liberate the city from ISIL in 2016. ISIL had controlled the city for several months before forces, primarily from Misrata, liberated its people and ended the group's foothold in Libya. For Abdul Hamid, this is personal.
Morale is high. We have entered the western gates of Sirte and are positioned in the south.
The latest territorial gains by forces of the government of National Accord in Tripoli follow a series of defeats for warlord Khalifa Haftar. Building on their momentum in western Libya, forces loyal to the international government of National Accord have made significant gains towards the city of Sirte. This is checkpoint 50, one of the gates leading in to the city of Sirte. Government forces tell us they have partially surrounded the city.
We have entered the city borders of Sirte and have surrounded it. We call on the city residents to force Haftar forces to leave the city. We sacrificed over 770 men to liberate Sirte from ISIL, so we will not leave the city to the war criminal Haftar.
Strategically positioned on the coast of central Sirte is critical to both Haftar and the GNA for any possible peace talks. Whether the forces will be met with stiff resistance, threatening a prolonged battle within Muammar Gaddafi's hometown remains to be seen. It's the third time since he was deposed and killed 9 years ago that the city has been a war zone. Malik Traina, Al Jazeera, just outside the city of Sirte in Libya.
Latin America is the world's worst hit region by the coronavirus, according to the World Health Organization. But while cases continue to skyrocket in countries like Brazil and Mexico, the island nation of Cuba has gone 9 straight days without a single virus-related death. The early detection and containment strategies the country put in place seem to have paid off. Al Jazeera's Manuel Rampalo reports.
This has become a relatively normal scene in Havana. Cuban doctors going door to door, screening for any symptoms of COVID-19. It's a strategy that has apparently paid off. Monday marked 9 days without any new coronavirus deaths in the country.
I believe that these results are based on our care protocols. They are based on the facts. First, early detection is important. because when you detect the person with several days of evolution of the disease, with several days of symptoms, the possibilities are decreased, and early detection is achieved through screening, through case finding.
Many Latin American countries are struggling to curb coronavirus contagion, but compared to the rest of the region, Cuba is miles ahead when it comes to containment.
We see once again that despite having the difficulties we're going through, our country has managed to control the epidemic and has achieved figures that are reasonable relative to the rest of the continent. And despite not being developed countries, we've achieved good control of the pandemic.
The streets of the Cuban capital are once again filling up, albeit with a great amount of care, as many who venture outside do so wearing face masks, which have become mandatory by the government. Refusing to wear one could lead to a fine or arrest. Cuba's success in mitigating contagion is being seen as a ray of hope for the region, though international health experts warn that in other parts of Latin America, the hardest days are still to come.
So there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we need everyone to remain focused on achieving the goal at hand, which is stopping this pandemic, which is suppressing transmission and saving lives, and there's a lot more work to do. So let's celebrate the successes that we do have, but let's remain focused on the remaining work that needs to be done, because unfortunately this is far from over.
With no new reported deaths in over a week, authorities have declared the outbreak in Cuba under control. Manuel Rapalo, Al Jazeera.
And before we end the news, a recap of our main headlines. Government denies allegation of coup plot. Gambia confirmed 2 new COVID-19 cases as Senegal registered 19 new cases. A relief for APRC party as government suspends all sales of Jammeh assets, said assistant spokesperson. TRRC resumed yesterday to probe Jammeh's motorcade attack and prison's condition. And on the international scene, protest march against Kenyan police brutality. Libya's GNA forces press ahead after failed truce offered by Egypt. Cuba declares COVID-19 under control. That's all for this edition of the news. Please enjoy the rest of our programs and join us tomorrow for more news. Thank you.